If you've ever looked online at conversations surrounding Demon Slayer, I'm sure you've stumbled into a lot of people saying that the series needed more. Whether it be more character moments, more story arcs, just a general need for more. This is a sentiment shared between many people, including myself even, but I want to challenge that idea a little bit today and ask us all the question, does the series need more, or do we just want more? So, to begin dissecting this whole ordeal, I want to give the context for what was going on in the anime and manga space when Demon Slayer started, and just kind of talk about the role that Demon Slayer served in that space. So Demon Slayer, the manga, started in February of 2016, and around this time is whenever the Big Three era was coming to its end. Naruto had been over, Bleach was just a few months away from ending, and I mean, obviously One Piece was not ending, but the era of the Big Three ended when those two ended. But even beyond that, let's really be honest here. Most people in the space back then didn't really discover Demon Slayer until the anime adaptation, which, let me remind you, started in April of 2019. So that's quite a while after the manga had started. And at this point, we are in a world completely past the era of the Big Three. And it's sort of a transitional period. We're trying to figure out what we care about. This was a confusing time for the anime and manga community because the era of the Big Three was just so dominant over the entire anime and manga fandom. It was a complete war zone. There were factions of all three sides, even sub-factions of people enjoying two of them, but not one of them. I even fell into that at the time. I used to be a Bleach hater. Look at me now. I am a huge fan of the Big Three era of Shonen Jump. It's probably the best the magazine has ever been. That is probably the biggest peak it has ever and maybe will ever have. And by 2019, it's gone. We have nothing. All we have is One Piece continuing. Bleach anime doesn't exist. Naruto anime, done. Boruto's out there, but not everybody really flocked to that series. So here we are, without the Big Three. And then comes this incredible looking series, Demon Slayer by Ufotable, obviously. An incredible adaptation that kind of blew everybody's mind. So, we all follow the anime. This sort of becomes something that unites everybody for a time after the Big Three. We all come together and enjoy Demon Slayer. And My Hero actually served a pretty similar purpose to this. But My Hero will be a separate video someday. But Demon Slayer just felt different. Its impact was just massive. It felt like a meteor landed when that first episode dropped. There's just something about the air to it that seemed to draw everybody in and really captivate all of us. So of course we all follow it through to the end. It wraps up, and then we're like, all right, let's check out the manga now. Read the manga, and it ends on May 18th of 2020 with a total of 205 chapters. This is only 8 months after the anime wrapped up, the first season anyways, and before Mugen Train is even out. So that was crazy, because here we are, and again, this is not everybody, but the pretty large majority of the, at least English-speaking online manga and anime fan base, reeling from the loss of the Big Three, checking out this awesome new series, and then it ends as soon as we all figure out it exists. That's unfathomable to all of us at this point, because we just followed these series that lasted for like 700 chapters. How can this series just end in 205? It makes no sense. Because to this point, the popular stuff was also the long stuff. And this was such an extreme example of a short series, at least it felt like it. 205 chapters is nothing to sneeze at. But at the time, compared to what we were all reading, this felt minuscule in scale. So, all of us, including me, back then, you can go out there and find old Reddit posts from me talking about how this series did not give itself enough time, this character should have had more moments, each of them should have had focus, each one should have had an arc. But did it? I just think none of us were prepared to read a series that had no interest in overextending itself. This is a series that told its story and left. Really is comical to compare the big three to Demon Slayer in the sense that 205 chapters compared to 700 or well over 1,000 in One Piece case. 205 chapters and the entire story is done. That felt impossible. Let's go back and look at what chapter 205 was of each of the big three. One Piece was at the conclusion of Alabasta. Naruto was in the middle of the Sasuke retrieval arc, so not even post-time skip yet. And Bleach was in the early stages of the Arrancar arc. Not even remotely close to the endings of the series. At all. No matter how you look at it, it is nowhere near a conclusion. Naruto, you could maybe argue, because, yeah, it was close to finishing part 1, but then there's, about, like 500 chapters after that. So with that baseline set, I now just want to talk about two main topics that drive home this point that I'm trying to make. And that point being, Demon Slayer did not need anything. We just wanted more. Because we liked it. So let me elaborate. The first point I want to talk about, as you just saw, is cast management. Something you'll see online a lot is that people think the cast was not managed properly and that not everybody got enough focus or development. But I would actually argue that every character got just as much screen time as they needed. Because at the end of the day, all of these characters are beloved. Every single one of them. Every character you follow in Demon Slayer, somebody out there is a massive fan. And that is pretty damn impressive whenever you actually look at how much these characters are utilized. And the cast size is just as big as it needs to be for a series of this length. Demon Slayer is a series that absolutely does not suffer from a bloated cast, whereas all of the big three do. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's pretty damn true. Let's just compare cast sizes in a loose way. I just want to talk about characters that we are supposed to care about to get through the narrative. So in Naruto, we have Team 7, Team 8, Team 10, Team Guy, the Sand Siblings, the Hokage, the 5 Kage, the Sannin, Hebi/Taka, and the Akatsuki. At its core, that's pretty much it, but there are characters added throughout the story from like other villages and random little factions that we are expected to care about. I think to some degree we are supposed to care about Mifune, so it is absolutely a bloated cast, as not all of these characters are utilized. To me personally, when I look at Demon Slayer, I and many others truly do care about everybody there, even the lesser explored ones like Iguro. But I look at Naruto, and to be honest, I really don't find myself caring about, I don't know, Shino. I do think he's cool, but there's no emotional connection to him. Whereas somebody who I would honestly even argue is the equivalent to Shino in Demon Slayer, being Iguro, which is a character we're supposed to find cool, who is not really explored all that much in the series. I care about him about 100 times more, just because of very simple things we see him do. Again, he doesn't get much characterization, but the stuff we do get is actually pretty compelling, and it's enough for me to latch on to. Whereas characters like Shino, and even Ino to an extent, hey, that rhymed, just not a whole lot there. So Bleach is actually pretty simple on paper, because at the end of the day, all you really need to care about is Ichigo's gang and the 13 court guard squads. That is pretty much it on the heroes side, at least. Although, you really can't understate how many people within the 13 court guard squads we are supposed to care about, or the Gote 13. A unique problem with Bleach's cast utilization is that they don't have an overarching villain. Unless you count Zangetsu and Yuhabaha being one and the same, and I do not count that personally. I mean, it is an awesome reveal, but it's not the same as Muzan, or even the Akatsuki as a whole. Now, the Akatsuki, similar issues, because the main villain of Naruto isn't, well, technically, like, the final boss isn't even revealed until like 5 chapters before the series ends. And in Bleach's case, It would have had an overarching villain if it ended with Aizen, and I'm not even saying it should have ended with Aizen. I'm just saying there was actually an opportunity to have a real overarching like main villain and have it end that way, but it continued past that. So in addition to the tons and tons of characters from the Gote 13 that we need to care about to some degree, there's also multiple villain groups that we need to learn and care about as much as you can care for a villain group. The Gote 13 is the first villain group, which has the benefit of being, characters that actually stick around through the whole thing. Then there's Aizen's boys and the Espada. Then the Fullbringers, and finally the Quincy's. All of which you gotta learn. Like, you gotta learn all their names, or at least you should, to get through the arc with a reasonable understanding of what is going on. So Bleach and Naruto have a clear problem with villains, in that there's no overarching villain. Is that a problem? Not really, but just the fact that in Demon Slayer, the same guy who is the villain in Chapter 1 is still the villain in Chapter 205 is kind of unheard of. We hadn't really had a villain stick around quite that long. And now to talk about the last of the big three, being One Piece. In One Piece, you have... I think you get the point on One Piece, actually. So, throwing One Piece out the window for the rest of this video, both Bleach and Naruto suffer from extreme cases of caste bloat, leading to many characters being underutilized or even forgotten in some cases. Like, think about Kira in Bleach. Kira is awesome. I love Kira, but he really falls to the wayside. And it's not even really Kubo's fault. I can't fault him for that. It's just, he has so many characters to work with. It's impossible to find time to use them all. But Demon Slayer keeps the cast small the whole way through. It never falters. We have the same characters to care about for the entire series, with each of them getting explored more as we go. Yes, you have like almost the entire introduction arc without the Hashira, but once they show up, they're constant. And you're constantly getting drip-fed information about all of them, and they're being built up even in your head. Like, yeah, it always comes back to Iguro, I know. Iguro is sort of an outlier, but I would argue, really, we saw enough of him. We saw everything we needed to see of him to care. And at the end of the day, that's all that's important. The equivalents to Iguro in the other series, which I guess I would lock down as Shino and Kira. I don't know why I'm choosing them, but I am. I can respect them and I can see their cool moments. I love the moment with Kira in the final war arc. It's sick as hell. But I care about Iguro so much more. Shino and Kira, I can't say I care. I just think they're cool. And with Kira's case, there's even a comparable example, because Kira has a fake out death very early in the final war, and all the reaction I could get out of it is just like, oh, damn. But Iguro's death devastated me. It's heartbreaking. And you could argue that's a presentation thing. Kira's death isn't exactly, well, quote unquote death, comes back, isn't presented as like a sad moment. It's just sudden. It just happens so quick. It's supposed to be shocking. So yeah, maybe that is how you're supposed to feel. But still, I feel like I would have been reeling from that death more if I cared. We just simply aren't given much to latch onto. Whereas with Iguro, at least we have the one small thing, that connection with Mitsuri. That's all you need. It's effective. It's efficient. Demon Slayer is an incredibly efficiently told story. From start to finish, it utilizes all of its characters, all of its page time expertly. We see everything we need to see to get through the story. And I don't think that's appreciated enough. We all get caught in that loop of just feeling like there should have been more to it. And yeah, given the trend it was going on, I can't blame anybody. It really did feel like we were going for a, one arc per Hashira until we get to the end or whatever, because that was the formula for quite some time until Hashira training, where all of a sudden it's just like, okay, here's all the rest, and now we're doing the final fight. So with my next point being set up pretty firmly, let's go ahead and talk about the story structure of Demon Slayer. As I was alluding to before, a very common complaint you'll see online is that the final arc came out of nowhere, to the series' detriment. It's sudden. It's not earned. But honestly, as I've really sat here with my thoughts and opinions on Demon Slayer for a while, I cannot see the problem in it. And I used to think the same exact way, honestly. I used to think it was ridiculous how this arc came out of nowhere. But that's the point. I mean, really think, what exactly could have happened in the story before the final arc started? Because I think everything that could have happened did happen in the final arc. And that's why Gotoge chose to do it when she did. Because she realized that all of her ideas, all the ideas in her head for the series, can be efficiently told right here. And I think she pulled it off. I really do. I don't think it was handled poorly at all. Because if you look within the arc, we have what some people can see as mini arcs within it. Like, you can look at the Doma stuff and be like, oh, this could have been a whole arc. Could have explored the cult, could have given more screen time to Kanao and Shinobu, yada yada. But what would that arc really look like? Because the point of the story we're at, we've already killed Upper Moons. Tanjiro's growing. The story is naturally coming to the point where he's fighting on par with Upper Moons. And that's also at the point where they're the only threats left. So what we would just end up having is a loop of what we were doing before. Tanjiro meets a Hashira, they fight an Upper Moon, so on and so forth. It would just keep going and going. But now we'd probably be in the point of Upper Moons getting away, or they beat them and they get replaced, because ultimately it still has to get to that final goal of Infinity Castle, which is what clearly Gotoge wanted to do from the beginning. That arc is her magnum opus. It's the best part of Demon Slayer, bar none. And we couldn't have got that arc as it was if we had more before it. The reason that arc worked so well is because of how sudden it was. I don't think enough credit is given to the ending of the Hashira training arc, where everything goes from peaceful training, just getting ready, to all of a sudden, it's just happening. We're in it. Training's not even over. We haven't finished training. We're not even rested. We're not ready. And boom, it happens. So instead of that long drawn out story with a constant loop of the same kind of story arcs being told over and over, we have a naturally flowing stories where both sides are taking losses as we go until it all naturally comes to a head with both sides pulling out their last stops to wipe each other out. It just makes sense. Because at that point, both sides have suffered losses, both are dwindling in numbers, so they're just like, we just gotta end this. Let's just do it. So I really fail to see the complaint about the final arc coming out of nowhere, because it really didn't. It did, literally, but that's the point, that the gates to Infinity Castle opened suddenly. It's supposed to be a surprising moment. Because at the very least, you're thinking like, okay, after everybody's trained and ready, then we're doing it. We're going to go head to head and face them in like a mutual exchange thing. But no, instead they're all just taken to the final battle right there as they're seemingly preparing. But Ubuyashi had everything under control. It's a seamless, well-executed, efficiently told story. Is that a good thing? That's for you to decide. But what I am trying to argue here is just that, love it or hate it, it's efficient. This is a story that gives us everything we need without wasting our time. Every page of this story is utilized so efficiently. There's no wasted page space. Maybe you're gonna argue like, oh, what about the weird like funny bits and stuff? That's the personality, that's the charm. Maybe you don't think they're funny, sure, but there's plenty of jokes that I don't think are funny in Demon Slayer. It has a very bizarre sense of humor, to be honest with you. But that's Gotoge's vision. That's what she wanted the vibe of this series to be. It's personality building. And now you may disagree with that approach. You can be a fan of longer form storytelling, the way the big three did it. I personally am a fan of that. I like to exist in these worlds for a long period of time, get to know like every little aspect, all this world building. I love it. I love long manga a lot. But Demon Slayer just isn't that. And I think at the time it came out, we were just all expecting it to be that. But it never was. It never wanted to be. It's just a story. And because we got so attached to the story and the characters, we all just naturally wanted more. But we didn't get it. We just got a 205 chapter series that told its story and didn't waste our time. Thankfully though, there is stuff out there. There's light novels, there's spin-off manga. You can get more of this world and its characters if you want, but it's not needed to tell the story. All of the complaints that you can have about this series are still valid, but I think we need to start rephrasing the way we talk about it. Instead of saying this series needed more time, it needed to show characters more, it needed more screen time for Iguro, I think we should start saying we wanted more. And it's because, whether you want to admit it or not, we loved these characters and this story. It's only natural to want more. And the fact that it left us all wanting more is just a testament to how great this story really was. That's all I got for this video. Thanks for hearing me out. Let me know any disagreements you had. Be civil. Let's try to be positive about our discussion. That's what I'm trying to drive home with this video. In addition to commenting, also make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, if you'd like to become a member, you can do so at 2 tiers. I have the Nice Prisoner tier, where you get your name in the credits, and the Super Nice Prisoner tier, where you get your name read out loud right now. So thank you to Braden Farrell, Milu Kitty, DJ Tengen, and Hexanen Zujidin. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel and for watching this video, and I will see you guys in whatever you decide to watch next. Take it easy, guys.